Good evening. My name is Shelley Lewis, and I serve as president of the League of Women Voters of Geauga. On behalf of our board and the Political Action Committee of Kinston, we welcome you to our 2020 General Election Candidate Forum. Here with a special message from PAC is Kinston student Max Volrath.
Good evening. My name is Maxwell Volrath, and on behalf of the Political Actions Committee at Kinston, I'd like to thank you all for attending Candidates Night and showing your interest in politics. A principle of PAC is to educate those in our community on current political news and candidates. This has been a difficult year in every aspect of life and a huge year for political candidates. And so I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on a virtual Candidates Night during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. I would also like to thank the candidates for donating their time to discuss themselves and their ideas. This is a fundamental election, as it is an election for Congress and the President, with the census also occurring. With various state positions up for election too, this time more than ever, the American people need to get out to vote. Best said by Jackie Robinson, "I've never identified myself with one party or the other in politics. I always decide my vote by taking as careful a look at the actual candidates and the issues themselves, no matter the party label. Like Mr. Robinson, do not follow blindly behind one party tonight, but listen and decide for yourself who you believe to be the better candidate. In a controversial period, we need our voices heard. The best way for us to do so is to elect those we truly believe can accomplish that task." Thank you again and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you, Max. A few words about candidate participation. For each race, candidates were invited using previously confirmed email addresses. Decisions not to participate are noted in red for each race. The League of Women Voters of Geauga does not support or oppose any individual candidate or party. Therefore, candidate participation in this forum should not be construed as a league endorsement of any individual's candidacy. Our format and rules for this evening. This is a forum to hear from and question the candidates. It is not a debate. We do not distinguish between incumbents and challengers. Therefore, you will not hear us use titles such as congresswoman or judge. We do not permit surrogates to stand in for the candidate. Candidates for each race present in alphabetical order by last name. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to present and must focus on their own qualifications and plans. The moderator then will present questions that have been gathered from the community via our website and screened by a league panel for compliance with our published criteria. Candidates have 1 minute to respond. Time limits will be strictly enforced. Candidates receive a 30-second alert during their opening remarks and a 10-second alert when responding to the community's questions. The time warnings will be visible to the candidates in the Zoom chat. The word "done" will be displayed in the Zoom chat when the time has elapsed. The moderator may, at their sole discretion, extend or shorten the questioning period. As a reminder, the League of Women Voters of Geauga is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League does not support or oppose individual candidates or parties. Our moderator tonight is Dr. Robert Lee. Dr. Lee serves as Vice President of the League of Women Voters of Geauga. Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Shelley. Two candidates running for this position, Timothy Cannon and Matt Lynch. And Matt Lynch, we're expecting him, but he is not online, but we can first start with Timothy Cannon.
Thanks to the League of Women Voters. My name is Tim Cannon. I'm currently the presiding judge of the 11th District Court of Appeals. I'm just starting my 14th year there. Prior to that, I practiced law in Lake and Geauga County for 27 years. Now, this is a strange election, as you all know, in many ways, and I don't think there's any race more strange than this particular one. And the reason is because my opponent is already a judge on our court. He's been there for a little more than a year and a half, and what he's said is that he's too old to run for his seat again, and this would be the last chance for him to run and get an extra 2 years toward retirement. So, but the reason that's confusing and meaningful is if he were to win, I would be out and someone would be then appointed to his seat. So the real choice is between me and whoever this unknown person would be to get appointed to his seat. We don't get a lot of fanfare at the Court of Appeals, so you may not know us that well. I would point you to 2 independent sources to decide who you think the better candidate is here. The Cleveland Plain Dealer did an extensive endorsement process. You can watch it on cleveland.com. The interview itself was over an hour long. And I received one of the strongest endorsements that in my 40-year legal career I ever remember seeing for a judge or judicial candidate. And the other source is the bar associations. We have 5 counties in this district, and 4 of the bar associations do judicial polls. They don't do these polls for the attorneys, and they don't do them for the judges or the candidates. They do them to educate the voters about who they believe the attorneys do a good job as a judge. And in Lake County, that poll, I was highly recommended. In Portage County, I was also highly recommended. My opponent was not recommended by the Portage County Bar. In Trumbull County, they do a preference poll, and I was the preferred candidate by a vote of 101 to 19. And the Geauga County Bar Association poll is, I think, due out within the next day or so. My work's been recognized by the Ohio Supreme Court. I'm the only judge in Ohio of the 68 appellate judges. When a Supreme Court judge has to recuse himself, the Chief Justice appoints an appellate judge to sit in their stead. And I'm the only appellate judge that's been appointed by 3 different Chief Justices, 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat, to sit on the Ohio Supreme Court. I've received many endorsements. I would just direct you to the website, reelectjudgecannon.com, and I appreciate your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not have Matt Lynch signing in, so at this point, I'd like to go through the questions, and some of them you started to address already, but we did have 4 questions submitted through the League of Women Voters website of people that had interest in these positions and had questions. So the first question that I have for you is, just as you start to touch on, this race presents a unique situation. If Mr. Lynch prevails, a vacancy will be created on the court that Governor DeWine will fill. Does this effectively take away voters' rights to elect their judges?
Well, I don't think it effectively takes it away, quite frankly, but it does create significant confusion. It would appear as though the choice in the race is between Matt Lynch and Tim Cannon, but that's not the reality. If I were to be successful in this election, nothing at all would change on the court. But if Matt Lynch were to win, he wouldn't. His seat would be vacant, and the voters, I guess, in this respect, the voters wouldn't have any say in who got appointed to basically take my place.
Thank you. Second question is, which areas of law have you practiced in, and to what extent? And what aspect of this position presents the greatest challenge to you?
Well, as I said, prior to becoming judge, I practiced law for 27 years. And I think one of the things that prepared me the most for the position was the fact that I had a very broad-based practice. I started out as a young lawyer doing some criminal work. I became a city prosecutor. I was the city prosecutor in the city of Painesville for many years. From there, I went on and began to do more significant civil work and more important civil work. I was in federal courts and handled many different civil cases, including representation of the Regional Transit Authority in Lake County and several communities as their legal advisor. So it was a very broad-based preparation for the position. The most significant challenges with regard to the position are really just staying on top of the current changes in the laws. I see my time's up.
Thank you for keeping an eye on that.
Yeah.
The third question is, what obstacles, if any, do you see in achieving equal justice? What changes to the judicial system would you advocate for and why?
The question equal justice or access to justice? Or?
Achieving equal justice.
Well, I think achieving equal justice is primarily driven by a person's income status and their asset status. People that don't have the ability to pay for an attorney or know how to handle a civil case really are limited in their ability to access the civil courts. In the criminal courts, defendants are entitled to public defenders if they can't afford an attorney, but they don't get to choose who their attorney is. The court appoints an attorney for them. And the equality of justice is driven more by the economic inequalities than anything.
Thank you. The last question is, who are your judicial role models and why?
That's a great question. One of the fellows I've always looked up to when I was an attorney, I did a lot of litigation, and litigation leads to appeals in the Court of Appeals. And Don Ford was the dean of the appellate bench in this district for a long time. And I knew darn well when I went in to argue a case that Judge Ford had read everything and was prepared and was thoroughly knowledgeable in the law. And I try to pattern myself after him. I always knew Judge Ford put in the work because he was very familiar with the case that I was arguing before him. And the other judge, I tell you, I've been very impressed. I got a chance to meet Chief Justice Roberts, and I'm very impressed by him, and I'm impressed by the comment that he made that, nobody ever goes to the ball game to see the umpire, and that's what we are. We're umpires. We're just calling it as we see them.
Just want to have a notice that, as indicated on the slide, there is going to be a rebroadcast of this event through the Geauga League of Women Voters, as you can see, and also on GTV via Spectrum, that they will also be replaying tonight's candidates night. Then the next thing for those who are on site is to also reference some of the other valuable things as we go through the selection process. As the voter guides, Vote for 11 is an opportunity for registering to vote, update registrations. Also, the voters in Geauga County should have all received their printed voter guide that have the responses from all the candidates. And this is something that has been valuable, that has been produced here in Geauga County for many years. And for the judicial candidates, you can also go to the judicialvotescount.com, and that is another reference for people that have interest in the judicial candidates. So this concludes our Geauga County Candidates Night for 2020 general election. I want to take this opportunity to thank the candidates who participated tonight. The coronavirus has temporarily changed our world, and it takes courage and passion for our candidates to step out of their traditional campaign box and to speak to the Geauga County voters via Zoom format. The challenges of public office has also become a bit more complicated as a result of social media. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you for your desire and willingness either to enter and or to serve in the public arena. Special thanks goes to the Geauga County League of Women Voters and the Kenston Schools Student Political Action Committee. Individuals in both groups voted many hours of their time to make this event happen. The Geauga League of Women Voters are going to continue to remain equally passionate about increasing voter participation and creating more informed citizens. Thank you again for participating and best wishes.